I'm here with Dottie and we're going to read chapter 8. And who was Martin Luther King Jr.? I have a dream. Birmingham proved to black people all around the country what protesting could do. From North Carolina to Tennessee to Oklahoma, black Americans marched and held sit-ins. They held protests in front of government buildings. Gradually, thousands of lunch counters, hotels, schools, and parks became integrated, meaning black and white came together and they sat together and they're doing life together, integrated. Then, on June 11th, 1963, President Kennedy asked Congress to pass a civil rights bill. Kennedy said, "I am asking the Congress to enact legislation giving all Americans the right to be served in facilities which are open to the public. Hotels, restaurants, and theaters, retail stores, and similar establishments. This seems to me to be an elementary right." On August 28, 1963, Martin and other black leaders led a march to Washington, D.C. They wanted to show Congress how many people supported the Civil Rights Bill. More than 250,000 Americans came from all over the United States. Many rode in cars and buses. Others flew in airplanes. Some walked. Some roller skated. Most of the marchers were black, but there were also thousands of white people. They too felt that the laws of segregation were unjust. The people marched toward the Lincoln Memorial, singing along the way. Many leaders spoke that day, but Martin was unforgettable. Martin had written a speech, but he did not read it. Facing the crowd, he remembered a speech he had given a few months before. Before I get to that, we're going to have a blurb of history. The Gettysburg Address. Almost exactly 100 years before President Kennedy's speech to Congress about the Civil Rights Bill, President Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address. It, too, was about civil rights. It is still one of the most famous speeches in American history. On October 19, 1865, President Lincoln spoke about freedom and democracy. It was during the Civil War, and he gave the speech in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where a great battle had been won by the North. He said that 87 years ago, or 87 years earlier, the nation was formed with the idea that all men are created equal. He wanted a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Do you like my Abraham voice? Dottie does. Yet 100 years after the Gettysburg Address, Lincoln's dreams of equality were still not fully realized. So sad. Back to the story. But just 2 weeks later, on September 15th, 1963, disaster struck. A blast rocked the early morning silence in Birmingham, Alabama. A bomb went off in the 16th Street Baptist Church. 4 black girls lay dead. They were Denise McNair, age 11, Carol Robertson, age 14, Cynthia Wesley, age 14, and Addie Mae Collins, age 14. The Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, a white supremacist terrorist group, committed these murders. White supremacists believe that white people are superior to non-white people. People all around the country were shocked. Martin was filled with grief and bitterness. He contacted President Kennedy to say that he was going to Birmingham to make sure that there was no violent reaction by blacks to the bombing. President Kennedy sent 25 FBI agents and bomb experts to investigate. Then, on November 22nd, 1963, disaster struck again. President John F. Kennedy was shot dead in Dallas, Texas. He was the 4th U.S. president to be killed while in office. The Vice President, Lyndon B. Johnson, became president. 5 days after President Kennedy's death, President Johnson spoke to Congress. He asked them to pass the civil rights bill that Kennedy had wanted. This was the best way to honor President Kennedy's memory. Congress agreed. On July 2nd, 1964, almost 100 years after the country saw the end of slavery, President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, and standing next to President Johnson when he signed the bill was Martin Luther King Jr. Another blurb in history: major features of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Anyone could register to vote. Literacy tests to see if voters, both black and white, could read and write could still be given. Discrimination in hotels, motels, restaurants, and other public places was outlawed. The Attorney General could take segregated schools to court. Money would be taken away from any state programs that practiced discrimination. Companies with more than 15 employees could not discriminate among the workers.